the sentencing of rap mogul Sean Diddy Combs. We now know the judge has just sentenced him to over 4 years, or just over 4 years, for his conviction on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution.
Sean Diddy Combs just broke down in tears after hearing his final prison sentence. The same man who once called himself God's favorite hustler, now reduced to handcuffs and regret.
Too surprised that we haven't heard more from some of the other celebrities, because I think that anybody with a pretty sound PR team is going to tell them to stay far away from this and to not give any opinions of it.
But this courtroom collapse is only the surface. Behind those tears lies a twisted trail of power, abuse, and downfall. And I've got every detail.
Just moments ago, the judge handed down that punishment, saying that Sean Diddy Combs should serve 4 years and 2 months behind bars for the convictions of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Now,
It finally happened. The curtain fell on Sean Diddy Combs, and the sound was louder than any beat he ever produced. Once hailed as the unstoppable mogul of hip-hop, Diddy's empire cracked in front of cameras, lawyers, and a public that couldn't look away. The man who sold the dream of immortality through music was now crying in a courtroom, his voice trembling as he faced the kind of ending no PR team could spin. His billion-dollar aura dissolved into something painfully human: fear, regret, and disbelief. The charges read like a Hollywood horror script: coercion, transportation for prostitution, abuse behind designer doors. For a while, his fans thought he'd escape again. After all, this was the man who walked free after the Club New York shooting. But even legends run out of miracles. When the verdict dropped, guilty on 2 Mann Act counts, Diddy's smirk faded into silence. His legend of invincibility shattered. Howard University erased him. Revolt TV erased him. Even New York City reclaimed its key. From the glossy heights of Bad Boy Records to the cold metallic clang of Brooklyn's MDC prison, the man who once called himself God's favorite hustler was suddenly just inmate number 87,085-054. And as the cameras panned his tear-streaked face, the question hung heavy in the air. Was he finally sorry? Or just sorry he got caught? Before the gavel came down, the letters poured in like confessions from a collapsing cult. Over 70 pages of desperate loyalty, begging the court to see the man behind the headlines. Each one a different version of Diddy: the mentor, the father, the philanthropist, the misunderstood soul. His team needed saints to write scripture, and some answered the call. Young Miami, no longer the brash city girl, but Carisha, the devoted partner, painted him as a man of God. She wrote about therapy, healing, and his so-called transformation. It was less a letter, more a love song to his image. Then came Dallas Austin, pleading that Diddy was a brother in redemption. Stevie J confessed his own flaws, swearing that Diddy's sobriety proved people could change. His children wrote too, describing a father who tucked them in with lessons about faith and hustle. But the silence from the rest of hip-hop screamed louder than any endorsement. Where were Jay-Z, Kanye, and the mogul circle that once danced at his parties? Nowhere. They understood the optics. Stand too close to a burning empire, and you burn with it. Each letter read like PR, crafted empathy, commercial forgiveness. But the judge wasn't grading style. He was measuring truth against evidence, and the video evidence didn't blink. You can't mention Diddy's downfall without whispering one name: Cassie Ventura. Once the muse of his empire, now the specter that haunted every courtroom breath. Her 2023 lawsuit detonated the myth of the charming mogul and exposed a darker script, one filled with fear, violence, and humiliation. What once passed as rumor became public record, and public record became ruin. She wasn't in the courtroom at sentencing. She didn't need to be. Her voice lived in the footage, the transcripts, the collective memory of a world that finally saw the man behind the mansion walls. Cassie described beatings so frequent, she lost count. That sentence alone destroyed any illusion of misunderstanding. It wasn't love, it was control. The defense tried to spin it, claiming Cassie was complicit in an alternative lifestyle. They said it was consensual, mutual chaos. But the courtroom saw through the remix. Every tear Diddy shed as the video replayed wasn't redemption, it was exposure. His sobs became soundtracks to a legacy unraveling. When he said he saw that footage in his head every day, it wasn't sympathy he earned, it was confirmation. Cassie didn't just win her lawsuit, she won the narrative. She became the ghost he could never exorcise, haunting every apology he would ever try to make. The prosecution didn't just charge crimes, they played highlight reels. They turned Diddy's legendary freak-offs from whispered gossip into federal evidence. Suddenly, the parties that once defined excess became exhibits of exploitation. Texts, footage, witness accounts, it all spilled out like a mixtape no one wanted to drop. Women described coercion disguised as glamour, trips billed as business that were really predation tours. The court heard tales of luxury hotels turned into stages for control and fear. Diddy, the self-proclaimed bad boy for life, looked more like the architect of his own destruction. But even as prosecutors painted him as the puppet master, the jury hesitated. Racketeering? Too speculative. Sex trafficking? Too blurred. They wanted facts, not folklore. And in the end, the convictions stuck on 2 Mann Act counts, proof that the devil was in the details. He wasn't jailed for a sprawling conspiracy. He was jailed for thinking his lifestyle could exist above law. The irony? Those infamous parties, once sold as glamour and power, became his gravestone. The freak-offs are now legend for all the wrong reasons, the phrase itself turning viral shorthand for decadence gone criminal. Diddy didn't just lose his freedom, he lost the mythology that once made sin look cool. No penthouse, no champagne, no roaring crowds, just a concrete bunk and the hum of fluorescent lights. Welcome to the new reality of Sean Diddy Combs, resident of Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, a far cry from his penthouse skyline view. The man who built an empire on control now lives by another man's schedule. Insiders whispered that Diddy was struggling. No VIP sections, no special meals. He asked for therapy, he asked for better food. The guards, unmoved. This wasn't a rehab retreat, this was federal confinement. Every complaint went unanswered, every comfort revoked. What hurt more than the concrete was the culture. His empire moved on without him. Kyrock stopped returning calls. Revolt TV erased his name. The same internet that once crowned him a king now mocks him with remixed TikToks. His lyrics transformed into karmic punchlines. Can't stop, won't stop, became prophecy turned punishment. And the paranoia? It's real. Inmates whisper, guards look away. The once feared mogul is now a trophy target. He's under protective watch, surrounded by men who grew up listening to his records, now watching him fall apart. For someone who lived for control, there's nothing crueler than being locked in a system designed to remind you you're not in charge anymore.
Now, prior to the judge handing down that sentence, Sean Combs addressed Your Honor. He spoke to him directly, saying, no matter what anyone says, Your Honor, I am sorry for what I did. He also apologized to Cassie Ventura as well as Jane, saying that he is sorry for everything that he did to them, saying that he is sorry for getting them involved in his mess.
When it was time to speak, Diddy didn't perform. He pleaded. The courtroom, tense and tired, watched as the mogul dissolved into tears. No bravado, no sound bites, just a broken man trying to rewrite his legacy in real time. I apologize to my children, to my mother, to all women, he said, voice cracking. But sincerity, like fame, is fragile. His words sounded rehearsed, his pauses cinematic. It was the kind of monologue that felt engineered for empathy. Then came the letter. The one he wrote by hand. In it, he described himself as sick, haunted daily by the Cassie video, tortured by addiction and regret. He framed his crimes as symptoms of a broken man. It was raw, it was emotional, it was convenient, because the timing was perfect. Right before sentencing, right when optics mattered most. To his lawyers, it was strategy. To the public, it was theater. The same man who once choreographed his image to perfection now choreographed remorse. And as his tears hit the courtroom floor, everyone wondered the same thing. Were they tears of guilt or survival? The gavel hadn't dropped yet, but mercy, everyone could feel, was running out of time.
emotional and intense as his children also spoke, Judge Ashley and Michael. They addressed the court on Sean Diddy Combs' behalf, having a very hard time with their remarks, breaking down at times. As they spoke, Sean Combs put his head into his hands, then placed his head down on his knees because he was having a hard time composing himself as his one daughter in particular spoke. So that was quite emotional during the...
When Judge Arun Subramanian finally spoke, the noise of weeks of spectacle vanished. Cameras stopped flashing, even the journalists fell silent. This was the moment the myth ended. The prosecution demanded 11 years. The defense begged for 14 months. The judge gave him 4 years and 2 months, a sentence that cut straight through the illusion of power. "You created trauma," Subramanian said flatly. "You must now live with accountability." There were no metaphors, no celebrity exemptions, just the cold arithmetic of justice. Alongside the prison term came a $500,000 fine and 5 years of supervised release. The courtroom gasped. Diddy sobbed. His children seated behind him wept too. The image was almost cinematic, an empire dissolving in real time. For decades, Diddy performed triumph. This was his final act: defeat. The once untouchable mogul now reduced to shackles, escorted out by marshals instead of security guards. The applause never came. Just the scraping of chairs, the sound of cameras clicking for the last time as Sean Combs was led away. Not to a party, but to prison. And as the doors closed behind him, the silence said everything. The empire wasn't dying. It was already dead. The blast radius from Diddy's downfall didn't stop at courtroom doors. It hit home with brutal precision. His 7 children, once red carpet regulars, were now tear-streaked faces in federal court. The same kids who grew up with privilege and paparazzi were forced to watch their father beg for forgiveness on live television. Kim Porter's absence echoed the loudest. The late mother of 3 of his children had always been seen as his moral anchor, the one person who told him truths no one else dared. Her death left a vacuum, and in that void, chaos thrived. Fans wondered aloud, if Kim had lived, would it have ever gone this far? The mothers of his children, Misa Hilton, Sarah Chapman, played both defender and damage controller. Publicly, they praised him as a father. Privately, they faced the impossible task of explaining to their kids why the man they called Daddy now wore an inmate tag. The children's letters to the court were heartfelt, pleading for leniency, painting their father as kind and misunderstood. But love complicates clarity. To them, he was family. To the court, he was a felon. The true heartbreak wasn't the sentence. It was watching innocence crumble under the weight of truth. Sean Combs built an empire on perception. He could sell confidence, charisma, even morality, packaged in luxury branding and catchy slogans. "Can't stop, won't stop" wasn't just a phrase, it was a marketing gospel. But when the Cassie lawsuit hit, the curtain dropped, and the PR machine combusted. Every photo shoot, every inspirational quote, every philanthropic press release became evidence of contradiction. The mogul who once posed beside presidents was now the face of hypocrisy. His team scrambled, pushing narratives of repentance and transformation, but social media moved faster. Every denial was memed, every apology was dissected. Redemption wasn't trending. The age of glossy PR was over. The age of receipts had arrived. The public didn't need polished statements, they had footage. The world didn't buy the mentor myth anymore. Behind the success was exploitation, and no rebrand could outshine that. By the time sentencing day arrived, his name was synonymous not with empire, but exposure. He wasn't the cautionary tale of excess, he was the warning sign of what happens when power goes unchecked. Public image can survive scandal, but it can't survive proof. 4 years and 2 months, that's the sentence. But for Diddy, the punishment stretches far beyond the prison walls. His brand is radioactive, his business is fractured, his family scattered. Once a symbol of self-made power, he's now a living reminder that no one, no matter how rich or revered, can outrun accountability forever. In the quiet of his cell, he's left with nothing but time. Time to replay his choices. Time to realize that "bad boy for life" was never a slogan. It was prophecy. The arrogance that built his empire became the hammer that crushed it. What happens after the 4 years end? Will he return, older and seeking redemption? Or will he vanish, another fallen icon buried under his own myth? The world has moved on, and hip-hop has crowned new kings. The industry that once worshipped him now uses his name as a warning. Sean Combs, the mogul, is gone. What remains is the man. And the man has to live with what he did, because even when the sentence ends, the stain doesn't. Fame fades, consequences don't. Diddy's serving 4 years, but his reputation, that's a life sentence. The myth of the mogul is dead, and the empire he built now serves as a monument to ego and consequence. If you want the full truth behind Hollywood's biggest collapses and celebrity meltdowns, hit that subscribe button, because this isn't the end. It's just the calm before the next storm.